Sarah Anderson stood at the back of the small white chapel, clutching her 5-year-old daughter Emma's hand. The late afternoon sun filtered through stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns across the hardwood floor. Outside, the oak trees swayed gently in the summer breeze, their leaves whispering secrets only nature understood. "Mommy, why are people looking at us?" Emma whispered, her blonde curls bouncing as she shifted uncomfortably in her best Sunday dress. Sarah smiled down at her daughter, though her heart ached. "Just stay close to me, sweetheart." It had been 3 years since Sarah had set foot in Pine Grove Community Church. 3 years since that painful Sunday when Pastor Roberts had asked her to leave, suggesting her situation might make other congregants uncomfortable. Sarah, 7 months pregnant and abandoned by Emma's father, had walked out with her head held high, though tears streamed down her face once she reached her car. Today was Louise Miller's wedding day. Louise had been Sarah's childhood friend, one of the few who had stayed in touch after the church turned its back on her. The invitation had arrived unexpectedly with a handwritten note. "It wouldn't be my special day without you there. Please, come." Sarah wouldn't have come if not for that personal plea. Now standing at the back of the chapel while wedding guests filtered in, she felt the weight of disapproving glances and whispered comments. There she is, the Anderson girl, bringing that child here, of all places. Some people have no sense of propriety. Pastor Roberts emerged from a side door, his eyes widening slightly when he spotted Sarah. He hesitated, then walked toward the front without acknowledging her. "Sarah, is that you?" A deep voice from behind made her turn. There stood Robert Williams, dressed in an impeccably tailored suit that couldn't hide his humble origins. They had attended high school together before Robert left for college and built a real estate empire in the city. The local boy who'd made good, returning occasionally to invest in the community that raised him. "Robert," Sarah smiled, genuinely pleased to see a friendly face. "It's been a while." "Too long," he said, bending down to Emma's level. "And who might this beautiful young lady be?" "I'm Emma," the little girl said shyly. "I'm 5 3/4. "Well, Emma, that's quite an impressive age," Robert replied with a warm smile. "I'm Robert. Your mom and I used to climb apple trees together when we were not much bigger than you." Emma giggled, instantly charmed. The church bells chimed, signaling it was time to be seated for the ceremony. "We should probably go," Sarah said quietly. "We'll just sit in the back." Robert frowned. "Nonsense. Louise is your friend. You should be seated with the other guests." As they moved toward the pews, Mrs. Winters, the church secretary and self-appointed guardian of Pine Grove's moral standards, stepped forward. "Sarah," she said, her voice tight, "perhaps it would be best if you waited outside. This is a sacred ceremony, and we wouldn't want any distractions." Sarah felt her cheeks burn. Emma pressed against her side, sensing her mother's discomfort. Before Sarah could respond, Robert stepped forward, his expression calm but his eyes steely. "Mrs. Winters," he said pleasantly, "I believe the purpose of a church is to welcome everyone, not turn them away. Sarah and Emma are my guests today." The church secretary hesitated. Robert Williams had recently funded the church's new community center, a project that had revitalized their outreach programs. "Of course, Mr. Williams," she finally said. "I was merely suggesting—" "Thank you for your concern," Robert interrupted smoothly. "Now, if you'll excuse us." He guided Sarah and Emma to a pew near the middle of the church, ignoring the stares that followed them. As they sat down, Emma looked up at her mother with relief. "He's nice," she whispered. "Yes," Sarah agreed, watching as Robert nodded politely to those around them. He always was. The wedding ceremony was beautiful. Louise looked radiant as she walked down the aisle, and when she spotted Sarah, her face lit up with a genuine smile. For a moment, Sarah forgot the discomfort of being back in this place that had once been her sanctuary and then her shame. After the ceremony, during the reception held on the church grounds, Sarah kept to herself, watching as Emma played with the other children who, thankfully, knew nothing of adult prejudices. "Not enjoying the punch?" Robert asked, appearing beside her with 2 plates of wedding cake. Sarah accepted the offered dessert with a grateful smile. "I was just thinking about leaving soon. We've stayed long enough to see Louise married." "Because of how some people are treating you?" Robert's directness was refreshing. "Small towns have long memories," Sarah sighed. "I made my peace with it years ago." "Did you? Because it seems to me you're still letting them punish you for something that never should have been considered a sin in the first place." Sarah looked at him in surprise. "What, do you think I've gotten too big city in my thinking?" Robert chuckled. "Maybe I have, but I like to think I've just gained some perspective." Emma came running up, breathless with excitement. "Mom, they're throwing the flowers." "The bouquet," Sarah corrected with a smile. "Go ahead and watch, sweetie. I'll be right here." As Emma ran back to join the other children, Robert leaned in closer. "I heard about what happened, Sarah. I was overseas when Pastor Roberts asked you to leave the church. By the time I found out, you'd moved to the edge of town and were keeping to yourself." Sarah stared down at her cake. "It was a difficult time." "I can imagine," Robert said softly. "Raising a child alone isn't easy. You've done a wonderful job with Emma." "Thank you," Sarah whispered, unexpected tears pricking her eyes. It had been so long since anyone had acknowledged her efforts rather than her circumstances. Across the lawn, Pastor Roberts was watching, in them his expression unreadable. After a moment's hesitation, he approached. "Sarah," he said, nodding politely, "it's good to see you again." "Pastor," she replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Robert," the pastor continued, "I understand congratulations are in order regarding your new community foundation." "Thank you," Robert replied. "We are hoping to make a difference in lives across the country." "A noble goal," Pastor Roberts agreed. He cleared his throat. "We're planning a committee meeting next week to discuss how the church can partner with local organizations to better serve families in need. Sarah, with your experience at the Children's Library, your input would be valuable." Sarah stared at him in disbelief. "You want me to come to a church committee meeting?" The pastor had the grace to look uncomfortable. "Times change, Sarah. Perhaps the church hasn't always been as welcoming as it should be." Robert smiled. "What an excellent idea, Pastor. In fact, I was thinking of funding an after-school program. Sarah's expertise would be invaluable." Later, as the reception wound down and lanterns were lit against the gathering dusk, Robert helped Sarah pack up Emma's sweater and the wedding favors the sleepy child had collected. "Thank you," Sarah said quietly, "for standing up for us today." "I didn't do anything special," Robert insisted. "Sometimes people just need a little reminder about what truly matters." Emma yawned, leaning against her mother's side. "Can Mr. Robert come see our house sometime? I want to show him my books." Sarah looked at Robert questioningly. "I'd be honored," he said, his eyes crinkling with genuine warmth. "Perhaps I could take you both to dinner first. There's a new restaurant in town I've been meaning to try." Under the gentle glow of twilight, with her daughter's hand in hers, and facing a man who saw her worth without judgment, Sarah felt something she hadn't experienced in years, the quiet unfurling of hope. "We'd like that," she said simply. As they walked toward the parking lot, Sarah glanced back at the white chapel where she had once found and lost community. The steeple gleamed silver in the moonlight, and somewhere in the distance, a whippoorwill called out to the evening stars. Second chances, Sarah reflected, sometimes came in unexpected forms, through old friends, new beginnings, and the courage to walk back through doors that had once been closed, and sometimes the journey home was worth every difficult step along the way.